Working on the dado plane, chopping out the wedge pocket for the knicker. So the bed angle for the knicker is 90 degrees to the top of the plane. So the back part of the pocket is 10 degrees off of that. So I made a tiny little jig with a block that brings it off the side of the plane, the proper dimension. And this is like a quickie jig. This is something that once I take it apart, it's no longer going to function as a jig. But I got these three pieces, these two side pieces and this back piece are glued together, and they hug the sides of the plane. I'm working on the mortise for the knicker on the dado plane. This is what it looks like. From the one side where the adjustment foot is, it comes down to the foot and actually extends a little bit further, but you can't see that because the foot is in the way. And then on this side, it comes down about 1.25 inches. And this is the top of the plane, so the blade passes all the way through this wedge pocket, straight down, and then comes down through here. So this wedge pocket has to connect to this slot. And I just finished as much as I could do of the wedge pocket, and I started chiseling the slot for the knicker on the bottom of the plane. And I really didn't like the way it was coming out, so I stopped and I made a float. And the float is made out of 1/8 material, which is the same material I'm making the knicker out of. So the idea is I'm basically going to use this as a saw. It's a float because there's no set to the teeth like a saw. So it's just a straight float style. And I made it solely for the intent of cutting this slot. So it's really rough going, but this is the idea. I used the same guide that I used for the mortise pocket, and I turned it around and set it at a 90-degree angle to the bottom of the plane, so it's a guide for this float that I made. So that's all it is. Right to my layout lines. Now the rest of that has to be connected to the bottom of this mortise pocket so that the knicker can pass all the way through and do its job when you're operating the plane. So this is the same material. This material is the same material that I used to make the float. So it'll fit in here real tight and there won't be any chatter, and that's what you want. So I did some fitting on this slot for the knicker, and I was able to connect the mortise pocket with the slot for the knicker. So that was a little difficult because I did it from the top, and reaching through here with the chisel is kind of difficult because there's no way to break apart the waste and remove the fractured piece. There's no room at the bottom of the pocket, but got that done. So now what I want to do is start opening up this pocket and create more space so I can begin to define the whole area. So I'm coming in with the custom chisel the custom float that I just made. Okay, let's give this a try. See if this is going to fit in here. There we go. Okay, I could make that a little deeper. Okay, a little bit more trimming, but this is the idea. So right in here in the middle, this will be scooped away, and you'll just leave two little spurs for the knicker on each side. And then the idea is that the side of the knicker is also flush with the plane, so that the spur cuts just the side of the entire dado. So that's how that looks. And then up in here, it's the full width of the pocket, and the bed angle comes all the way through the plane right through here. So this has got to be a little bit more trimming. Get this right on the line, so there's a little bit of an obstruction back in here somewhere, and then I'll fit the wedge. But that's the idea. That's how you do the knicker. Now, right up in here, this area is going to be rabbited away. So this area right here, between the side of the knicker and this area right here, that's going to be within the rabbet. So this is all gone. This corner of the plane is going to disappear. I got it set up to make the rabbet in the edge of the dado plane. So it's set back off the bottom of the plane 3/8 of an inch. I have a 3/8 block of steel, and I went ahead and set the guide block up for that. Looks good. And I got one of the planes that I started working on in this project. It's not totally finished, but the blade is all set up and ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and try and create this rabbet with this brand new skewed rabbet plane. Okay, so the sole of the plane is the same width as the knicker, which is just a few thousandths of an inch over 1 inch. That's fine. And the height of this rabbet is a few thousandths of an inch within what I want, but the depth of the dado is determined by the depth adjustment foot. So I'm really not too concerned about the height of this rabbet, but it's close. Plane looks good. So now what I can do is start roughing in the blade, because the blade, even though it's on a skew, has to cut the same width as the sole of the plane. It has to be basically the same cutting profile as the knicker, so that when everything passes through the dado, it makes the same cut. Can't be off. So I got the mortise pocket cut, and now that I have the bottom of the plane shaped, I can start fitting the blade to the wedge pocket. So we're going to keep going with all this stuff. There's a lot of work to do. We'll keep the ball rolling. Made a lot of progress with the depth adjusting foot. I have the pocket all mortised out. I have the device all fitted. So from the bottom, everything is going to work out fine. What I also did was I reconnected the thumb mechanism through this hole and lined up the plate and scored the top of the plane with a sheetrock knife. So I have a very light score mark done with the sheetrock knife. And now I'm going to go ahead and mortise that. It's a very shallow pocket. It's only the thickness of this plate. So I'm gonna do that now. And there'll be a final fitting of this mechanism. And we'll see how it works. Okay, let's try this out. Let's see how this goes together. Okay, it's fully retracted. Now if I was going to set it for, let's say, 3/16 deep, I would take a piece of 3/16 steel or whatever, put it on top of the foot. This is not 3/16, but using it as an example. And then lower the foot so that the steel was flush to the bottom of the plane, like that. You could even make it a little bit proud and then run your cut and then adjust it later, unless you had to do multiple cuts. And then basically this foot is going to stay in that position as long as that doesn't rotate. And there's a little bit of friction in here. That's not gonna, chances are that's not gonna rotate as you're using it, and the foot is gonna raise or lower. So It's a pretty reliable mechanism. I mean, it's a handmade 17th or 18th century mechanism, but this is the idea. And then let me go ahead and put in the nicker. The nicker basically touches the side of the depth adjustment foot. That's the way that works. And then I also have some fabrication on the main blade. So I have all that ready. So this is coming along nicely. I got some work to do on the wedges and a whole bunch of other stuff. Fine tuning, sanding, cutting to length, final shaping and everything. But this is coming along real nice. So I'm going to stop here and start editing this segment. I want to thank all the new subscribers for joining in and watching the videos. I'm very happy with the results. I haven't looked at the analytics. I hope you're all watching the videos all the way through. And I hope that if there's anything that you're not seeing in any one video, you go to another video to look at, because I'm going to start filming less and less of the work if it's already covered in another video. I want them to be like addendums to each other. So they're not complete packages. There's going to be stuff left out that's basically referring to earlier work. So you're going to have to watch all the videos or you're going to miss out. That's just the way it goes. All right, everybody. Have a good day. And stay strong.